What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta. Today you are here with D-Boy. So as you see from the cards on the playmat, we are back with another deck profile. This time we have Kagero BladeMaster, Waterfall, Dauntless. I mean, yeah, you could call it whatever you want. I call it BladeMaster. Alright, so this deck is lots of fun to play. It's actually quite strong, especially if your opponent doesn't really know how to play against it. There could be some problematic moments where your opponent would think, well, what? And you will be like, haha. So the thing is, in a best of one format, in such an open format being V, you could do a lot with lots of different decks. This is one of the decks that could be a dark horse in a tournament and could do quite well. So we will go throughout the deck, explaining the cards, but first just go through the deck pretty fast to show you the deck list. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you want to see more about this deck, like a combo video or maybe a match, just let us know and I'll be more than happy to make one for you guys. Right, so you see the sleeves. If you don't know which unit this is, there are different BladeMasters that we have had in the past in the G era, and this is Cohen. This is pretty much the best out of them all, as in the main Vanguard. And now we have Soen, so this is also not the original BladeMaster. Alright, when it comes to BladeMaster, there is lots of history with me and BladeMaster. Thing is, BladeMaster, the cards that support the deck are actually Dragon Dancers, and most of them, especially the units, the boys, the men, are Dragon Knights, and they have all of them Arabic names. And me myself, I'm Arabic. So it's pretty cool that a small detail there. Right, enough about that. Let's just jump into the deck profile. So for the grade 3 lineup, we have, of course, 4 copies of Soen, and you followed up with 4 copies of Dauntless Drive. And then we have 2 beautiful waterfalls, the only way to play waterfall. And last but not least, still no SP. This should be an SP. 1 reverse. Alright, we'll talk later on about the deck and about each and every card. For the grade 2s, we play the BladeMaster support, so we play the Doa, we play Faja, I think you should pronounce her. I mean, they really butcher their Arabic names here. And of course, 3 copies of Berserk Dragon, still just so good to write into. Grade 1s, we have the Garan, we have Lava Flow at 4 as well, and then 2 of these beautiful fluffy carbuncles and 1 tower. Alright. Triggers, we play lots of draws, so we play 4 Sentinel and 4 beautiful fluffy draws, and then 4 crits, and last but not least, of course, 4 heals. This will be Heal Guardians. They're in the mail, so they will be here, I think, in a day or 2, but just to keep the videos up on schedule, I have to do the deck profile now. One starter, I like to play Ondux because he has a beautiful borderless art, and I really like the art of this guy. Alright, now we've talked about the deck. Now we'll come back and explain a little bit about the deck. Before we explain each and every card and the other options that you could play in the deck, it's very important to explain the way that you play the deck. So there are 2 big boys in the deck, and you have 2 different finishers. I don't rely too much on the reverse. It is just an extra in the deck and really nice to combine with the Dauntless Drive. But the big finisher right here will always be Waterfall. Waterfall, riding Waterfall on the Dauntless is crazy, especially if you already have another grade 3 in your soul, which means that you could attack twice with the Waterfall, your opponent could not Sentinel, and you making force 1s, putting it on the Vanguard, which means 3 force 1s, and with that you make a huge Vanguard attack. And if you combine it with your grade 1s, with your Carbuncle and Tower, then there will be some devastating attacks that your opponent could not PG, could not use Sentinels. So with that, you also have good field control, so even if they play something like that could intercept, you could still get rid of that. So all in all, the deck is very devastating. That's this side of the story. How about this? Well, Sowen actually acts as a very good early mid-game card. It could be a finisher, as of course you still create your token, you have more drive checks, but most of all, it's these boys that will finish the game. So depend on your opponent what deck he plays. Sometimes you ride into Sowen first, then you go into the Dauntless. Dauntless is good by himself because you still get 2 Vanguard attacks, and then later on you go to Waterfall or you go to the reverse. Both of them are possible, but this is most of the time the route you go to. But sometimes you actually go from the one Dauntless to the other Dauntless, and with that you still have here, you will get 3 Vanguard attacks, right? Because from him you get 2 Vanguard attacks, from him you get 2 Vanguard attacks. And then you ride into the Waterfall, and with that you could attack with Waterfall twice, use his skill twice. That's important because his skill is till the end of battle, and you could restand him with him, which means devastating. So that's basically the idea. If you focus only on the Sowen and the Dauntless, then you will most of the time go force 2. You will not go force 1. If you really want to go and finish your opponent off with a Waterfall, then you go force 1. So those are just like small notes you have to you just have to keep in mind while playing this deck. Alright, there is no reason to play the old BladeMaster anymore. I mean, it's just too slow comparing to the formats, the meta, and comparing to Sowen. So that's why you pretty much focus on him. Could you play the deck without BladeMaster? I mean, you could. You could just play Waterfall with him, but BladeMaster give you a whole different control and also very nice mind games with your opponent, because your opponent could not really commit too much to the field. I mean, if they do, you're just taking out their whole field. Doesn't really matter if they have resist or not, you're just taking everything out. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's BladeMaster, which is pretty amazing. And that's why you do have this combination. Even though if you don't ride into him, you still have the, yeah, I would say the psychology game that you play with your opponent, where they could not really commit to the field. And the moment they do, you could always still ride into BladeMaster. I mean, I've done it sometimes to ride into this first pressure your opponent and then go back and ride into Sowen and still have 2 Sowen attacks. I mean, Sowen is still good by himself because he, of course, gain the power, give your token the power. And as I said, if you create the force 2 in this deck, because you want to pressure your opponent with 2 attacks from the get-go and then ride into him and then still get the 2 attacks. But remember, you also have his ability. Even if you don't get triggers, you can still power up your other Vanguards. So yeah, I mean, it's really strong. For the grade 2s, you could play it a little bit differently if you want to add some different cards. There are a few. You have her. She is really good. She does help you to draw cards. She does help you to empty up your opponent's field if you don't have them in hand. And there is also this guy, which could recycle cards and also help you to do some retirement. So these 2 are very good. You could run them in the deck. Anything else? Yeah, you have lots of generic grade 2s you could run in Kagero. I mean, there are lots of good cards, but for me this works the best. She doesn't have a cost, which makes her really good. You could just throw her in the early game, pressure with her a little bit, and you get value back. This is of course important for, yeah, BladeMaster in general. Berserk Dragon is a good beat stick, but also the best right target. So for the grade 2s, I don't think I will be changing much. I've seen lots of people who will have to play this card, but I didn't really find it necessary, especially because I sometimes don't even take the BladeMaster route. And that's the good thing about BladeMaster, it's just 4 grade 3s, 4 grade 2s, and 4 grade 1s. That's it. Anything else you have in the deck doesn't really require you to have BladeMaster. Yeah, this is again one of the great ones that you need in your BladeMaster deck, but yeah, anything else is pretty much generic. One of the important cards you have in the deck is Lava Flow. There is another card that you could play in this deck, which is the Great 1, which on your right on the top of it, you could search, I think, the top 7 cards of your deck, add a Great 3 to your hand. That's a good card, I don't have it yet, but the thing is with that card, the second skill of it costs a Counterblast, Soul Blast. I do find sometimes myself not having that cost, especially the moment that I want to use it. With Lava Flow, it's just easy to use because good right target, good card to call on the field. You could attack with it, you could boost it with it, you could do whatever with it. It's just a really good card, and also an iconic card to have in Kagero. Fluffy Carbuncle. Yeah. What could I say? I mean, I have been playing this card since it came out. It's really good. Even if you don't have a restanding Vanguard, it's good. If you don't know what it does, basically if your Vanguard restands, it gets plus 15k, so it becomes a 20k booster. But if you already have it on the field from last turn, and then you stand, that's the moment it already gets its plus 15k, because you stand and you draw at the beginning of your turn, and because your Vanguard stands, she already gets the plus 15k. So as long as you have her on the field, she becomes the next turn a 15k extra, becomes a 20k beater or booster, which is kind of insane, right? So that's really good about the card, and I loved having her behind Waterfall, but also good with BladeMaster, and with Dauntless in general. I mean, pretty good booster. Last but not least, some people would like to play more than one. I find one good enough. I don't feel like it's necessary to add more, especially on the turn that you ride into Waterfall. This card becomes the most effective because it gives you one of your Vanguard, one of your units, I think, plus 15k. No, it doesn't need to be a Vanguard. Give it the extra 50k, and then because you restand multiple times, you get more benefit from that 15k, because the 15k is till the end of turn. So in the turn that you ride the Dauntless on the Dauntless, where you could restand 3 times, or attack 3 times, restand twice, this would be the most effective. And the turn that you ride the Waterfall on top of a Dauntless, that's also when this card will be very effective, because your opponent could not sentinel that attack. There are other great ones that you could add or play in this deck. Let's see, to have some of them right here for you guys, so we could go through them, why not? So for other great ones, you could of course always play Armos. I mean, it's a very good card. You could play Chicken, is also interesting, especially again if your opponent could not Sentinel, then sometimes they put a huge shield out there, like a heal trigger or something, or an interceptor. This could take that out, so that's also good. You have her. She's a good recycle power that you could play in the deck. If your opponent doesn't have rear then this becomes effective, and so you have more. You have lots of cards. As I said, Kagero has lots of generic cards that you could play in almost every deck. So BladeMaster could benefit from all of those units. But for me, I like to keep it simple, and I like to keep the deck as consistent as you can make it. And for me, this is the build that is the most consistent and works the best for me. So that's actually it for the BladeMaster deck. Again, it's kind of a combination between a BladeMaster and Dauntless deck. I would see people build this almost the same deck without the BladeMaster at all. That could work, but as long as you combine these two, the deck is actually quite good. And BladeMaster is actually just an extra in the deck. And as I said, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. Hope that you guys learned something from it. If you have any questions or you want to see the deck in action, just let me know. I don't mind doing maybe a game against a friend to show you the deck, or maybe one area. All right, thanks for watching. Until next time.